Okay, we're live. I think we're going. Here we go. Live group out there. Welcome. This is my good friend Sebastian Mishlevietz and partner with my Airbnbs and many others. So what I'm going to do to open up here is recap from yesterday and the day before, and then we're going to dive in with Seabass. So, reminder 3 days, three parts. If you're watching the recordings, okay, you're on video three now. Congratulations. You've made it further than most people who say that they want to do this and then they won't even watch, the first two videos. So, congratulations for making it this far. And recap day one, video one, we talked about your financial freedom journey and we went with this hypothetical example here, Jenny and Johnny, and we then used their numbers, okay, to find an Airbnb yesterday that fit their budget and criteria. Look at this paint job here that would need to be done, Seabass. You see that? Yellow paint. Um, they were all a lot of work yesterday, but we ended up finding one that we thought was not that bad, would need some work, but it's doable. We broke down the numbers yesterday on here. And okay, we determined that yes, this one, it could be a profitable, good Airbnb. You could make your money if you're willing to put in the work on it. But obviously, the next step and the last step of this whole process is all right, so now you found a place, you broke down the numbers, you got someone to say yes, and now what? So the next steps, as I outlined on the screen right here, step one, okay, you need to lock a place in. So you need to get a lease signed with the owner of the house if you're going the arbitrage model, and then once you get the lease signed, you officially have an Airbnb in your right in your. It's up to you now. It's in your hands, and there are all of these other things that go into managing the Airbnb on a weekly and daily basis. So before I pass it over to Sebastian here, I want to let you guys know who he is. Sebastian, great friend of mine for many, many years. And he, like I said on, I think the first video, I learned the hard way that having one Airbnb is more work than I thought it would be or that I was excited for it to be. And I was looking to sell like I said this yesterday to you guys or on the last recording that luckily I didn't arbitrage my first one because then I was forced to kind of like get through the hard stuff. So we owned the house. I had to do something with it. Sebastian took over. And because of his help in the last year, we've now scaled up to five places that we have off and on Airbnb at all times. And we're looking to keep growing. So without Sebastian, I'd be stuck at one. And that's why throughout the video, he won't tell you this. He probably won't be like, you should work with me, but I would tell you it is more than worth the investment because they are the experts. But if you want to do it yourself, you definitely can. And some of the things he's going to go through are things that we saw yesterday that people were not doing. So I told you guys a little bit yesterday of like having great photos. Some of the stuff seems like a no-brainer, but it's so important that you do, like using dynamic and smart pricing and making sure that you're always booked up. And how do you do that? So without further ado, the COO and co-founder of the Dream Rentals. Dream Rentals, if you want to go to thedreamrentals.com to see more information or to potentially work with them too, you could. So Sebastian, my friend, with now 40 plus places under his management and expertise, take it away.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate it. So I'm going to go over a couple of things that Alex prepped me on. So listing or property, pricing strategies. We'll go over property management, guest experience, optimization tools, and then just wrapping things up from there. So we did create a free ebook, which has a lot of this information, which I'll actually go through most of it today. And if you do want to download it, it's lp.thedreamrentals.com. So once again, that's lp.thedreamrentals.com, and you'll be able to get a free copy of our ebook. So that's super simple. And you'll be able to find all the steps to launch a successful Airbnb on there as well. Now,
Okay.
running an Airbnb can turn into a full-time job. Or if you do want us to manage it, we can definitely take that off your hands and manage it for you. It should be a lot easier. But Alex, if you want to give me some screen sharing abilities, that'd be awesome. There we go. Cool. So here's what lp.thedreamrentals.com will get you to, and then you download the free guide right there. And then here's the actual ebook right here. And a lot of things that Alex covered are in the first couple pages, so I don't want to go through that too much, but I will go through where he left off. So on page 9, it goes over how to do things yourself, save you some money, gives you a couple of tips, and I'll kind of walk you guys through everything. So the first thing is you do want to stand out in your market. So I'm sure Alex talked about this, but it's really important to do research on the market that you want to tap into and find out what the best performing properties are doing. So airdna.com is a great resource to see the best producing properties on Airbnb in different markets. And once you go through some of those listings and you see a lot of their amenities, you see what they have to offer, how many people they sleep, etc., then you can figure out what kind of market that you want to compete against. For example, in Scottsdale, which we just launched 3 properties in last month, there's over 30,000 Airbnbs in that market. There's also over 3,000 Airbnbs that sleep 16 plus. Out of those 3,000, there's probably about 1,500 of those Airbnbs that have a pool, hot tub, pickleball court, basketball court, putting green, theater, like the whole shebang. Right. So it's going to be really hard to be in the top 10% of a market like that has everything that you want at a lot of the properties already. So when you do choose a market, look at the competitors and see who you can compete against with your budget. So can we go to Scottsdale and expand more there and compete against them? Sure, but we're going to be dropping tens of thousands of dollars to just compete in that market. So we probably won't expand there too much unless it's a home run deal. So, I mean, top 1%, obviously you're going to crush it, but top 10% is definitely where you want to be. You're on appeal. So the Midwest, what I do like about the Midwest, what I do like about expanding to Minnesota is that there's not a lot of competition. A lot of people that start Airbnbs go to the East Coast, West Coast, Florida, and in the South too, because it's warm year round. In the Midwest, there's not as many competition, but because we do get the winners. However, what's great about Chicago, Minnesota, Wisconsin is there's sports teams year round, right? There's still lakes, there's still cabins, there's still things to do, which attracts people to go into that area. So think about that too as you're picking the market that you want to get into. And same thing with Chicago has a winner. So there's not as many people in the game here. There's some restrictions in Chicago as well. So for example, Scottsdale has 30,000 Airbnbs, Chicago has 10,000. Out of the 3,000 that Scottsdale has that sleep 16 plus, in Chicago, there's 150 that sleep 16 plus. So to be top 10%, it's a lot easier. Same thing with Minnesota, right? You put a hot tub in there, you put a pickleball court, you're going to be in the top 1% and crush the market. So think about that. Now, when you're starting, I do think that a lot of people spend a lot more money to set up a property than they need. So here are a couple ways that you can save cash. Number 1, painting it yourself. Your property can be themed. It can, be a little bit more modern. You can not paint it at all. But in my opinion, people want something that's refreshing, new, something that they necessarily wouldn't buy, but they would love to stay at. Well, it's like a bachelor party, bachelorette party place, home getaway, family reunion. You want to think about all these things before you do put some money into it. But paint some walls. I like one I think painting one wall in each room is nice. It doesn't have to be a crazy color. It doesn't have to be a crazy theme, but just refresh the property a little bit. Buy some art. I know the last property that we helped Alex set up, I think my mom, which is the interior designer, and Bart, which is our project manager, they went to Goodwill for a lot of the things. So you can literally buy blank canvases or even painted canvases and paint over them from Goodwill or Facebook Marketplace, whatever the case may be. Thrifty finds. Go on Facebook Marketplace. Go on secondhand stores. Go buy used furniture. Like all these things are perfectly fine to use. You know, I wouldn't recommend a used mattress, but everything else is pretty fine to get used. You don't have to get brand new furniture at all the properties. Arcade games, you can buy a new one, or you can buy a used one that's already built and you don't have to spend time doing that. One of my buddies in Iowa, he set up a studio property, rents $1,000. He spent $12,000 to get that property ready for Airbnb. Now, the first couple of months, it did do about 5 or 6,000, which he got his money back in 2 months. But in my opinion, he should have spent $3, $4, $5,000 max on that property. So you do want to be conscious of that. Your ROI, it's just going to take a little bit longer to get your money back.
What is there like a rule of thumb, or does it really depend on the size and the price? Like, is there like a 3x multiplier or a 2x multiplier on rent or something to look for?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will tell you 3, 4x is like the sweet spot. Some people go up to 6 or 7. I think you could do it for 3 or 4x. We also like to find properties that are already fully furnished or partially furnished, so that way that saves us some money too. But yeah, you could definitely do it with 3 or 4x.
That's good to know. Yesterday, anyone who watched the last recording, I think I did like a 2.5x multiplier, and that place needed work. So I definitely was being a little optimistic on that one. That's one that I would bring to Seabass, and he would say, "This isn't an $8,000 project. This is like probably 13 or 15,000." So, but
And
okay, cool.
by the way, like a lot of people are wanting to get in the game now, so it might be a little bit harder to find a property. So you can pull the trigger, you'll get your money back. It'll take a little bit longer. But I mean, you don't have to rush things, right? In the position we're at now, we might rush things because we have more capital. But if you're looking to start, maybe wait a little bit. You don't have to pull a trigger right away, but really comes down to how much capital you have. All right, listing the property. So once you have the property and you have it all set up, it's really important to have a photographer that has done real estate photography and has done some kind of Airbnb or lifestyle photography too. Meaning, the goal of an Airbnb listing should be to portray how the property looks, feels, and the whole layout as a person walks in. So I will kind of walk you guys through Alex's lake house property here. So the first 5 pictures that we picked depict the view, the feel, the layout, because these 5 pictures determine if someone's going to book. There's plenty of times that people will won't even click your listing because the first 5 pictures don't intrigue them. That's very, very important. Now, what I love that Alex did with these pictures is he turned the fire on. He put the hot tub on. Like that stuff's important. If you want to get this even to the next level, he might have some people in these laying chairs or in the hot tub with the wine glass, whatever the case may be. I'll show you our Scottsdale property here. Oops. Well, that's not the first fit picture on there, but one of the pictures we have, the first picture in Airbnb now has a picture of like floaties in the pool with a beer by there. Now it doesn't have people in there, but you really want to help people think about how they're going to feel booking the property. And then after you have it fully set up with the right pictures, the right rooms, you really want to picture, we want to have someone picture themselves walking into the property so that they know exactly what the layout is like. So we have the living room, kitchen,
Fish
kitchenette,
tank,
dining room.
massive fish tank right there in the middle of the blue.
Yeah, whatever that is. Is there water in there?
No, and actually, but if you go up, we were in such a rush. No, or sorry, not to the fish tank, but to the bedroom. We were in such a rush that there's a lot more art on these walls than that's in these pictures. But so maybe we'll get some new photos. I think we're gonna get some for winter, some winter pics. So
Yeah, totally. Some like s'mores or whatever. That'd be good. So yeah, we set this property up. I don't know what did it take? 10 days.
yeah, 10 days.
It was a quick turnaround. It was a lot of work, but he got it for a good price. A lot of his furniture was here, and we made it work. But the pictures do a lot of the work. Now, pictures are great, but then you got to really make sure that the property, so then we put like additional pictures where they can see how far the property is from different parts of Minneapolis if they are visiting the Twin Cities.
Ooh,
And
Can Camp Wonderland is actually
what we like doing too is having our Instagram on there too. If they want to reach out to us on Instagram, they're more than happy to do that as well. So that's that. Let's go back to the ebook. Can you see my screen, Alex? Or is it just
it's the sidebar. But while you pull it up, this is anyone who just watched the last recording. I hope you can already see, at least in Minnesota, the bar is pretty low. Like our top 5 competitors for this one we looked at yesterday, the photos were nothing like you couldn't imagine yourself living in and like sitting down having a glass of wine in those other photos. A lot of them looked like a prison cell, honestly, the way that it was lit and decorated. So the bar is not outrageously high. And if you find a good photographer can make a massive difference.
yeah, 100%. And depends on the market. Just like you said, Minnesota, there's not a lot of people in the game. You go to Joshua Tree, it's slammed. You go to Austin, you go to Scottsdale, a lot of these, you go to Nashville, it's very, very saturated. So I think the territory and the area that you're in really does matter. We talked about that. Listing descriptions. So it's super easy. You can go to ChatGPT. What I did for Alex's property, here you go. Can you create an Airbnb listing description for a 5-bed, 6-bathroom lake house that sleeps 16 people and is steps away from the lake, or is a lake house? We just spent we just spent $10,000 upgrading the home. The property includes this, 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 and this. And then ChatGPT will literally make you a whole listing. So it's super simple. Make sure to highlight the key features. So every amenity, I'd make sure that ChatGPT knew what that would be. So then that way, when it spit out the listing description, it aligned perfectly with what Alex had to offer. All right, algorithm. So when you launch a new listing, Airbnb will boost that property to the top in the listing results. So why is this important? Number one, when you launch a property, you have to make sure that the listing is perfect. You have everything is filled out, the right amenities are filled out. If there's a hot tub, that's checked. Every single amenity that you have in the property, it's got to be on or off if you don't have it. Why is this important? Let's say I'm on Airbnb and searching up a property in Minnesota, and I look up properties in Minnesota with a hot tub, and I forget to put that on. You're missing out on that revenue, or you're missing out on that interest. Also, before you launch a property, you want to make sure that the property is linked with some kind of pricing strategy. Why? Because if you list a property with a $1,500 nightly rate across the board, and it is launched on Airbnb, and all these people are clicking it, but then they see the price and they're not booking, that's actually going to put you down. The way you want to think about it is, you know how back in the day people used to buy a lot of Instagram followers, and now you could totally tell who did if someone has 10,000 followers and they have like 50 likes. You actually won't be able to see that person's posts on Instagram, and unless you really doom scroll and go down in your feed. The reason for that is because it's not in alignment with value to the marketplace. That 10K followers has no value in the marketplace anymore. Now it used to, right? 10K followers used to get you more likes because people would see that more, but now it's the opposite. Same thing with Airbnb. There's SEO services now that I think are actually going to be detrimental in the marketplace, where they'll have 10,000 views for a listing. However, none of those views are converting. So that might be good for the short term, but the long term, that's going to push those listings way down. It's going to be really, really hard to get back to the top. Launch your property on a Wednesday. Why? So that way people see it on Wednesday and Thursday and book for the weekend. If you launch a property during the weekend, you'll get bookings for next weekend, but you're losing on that revenue as well. Performance. So Airbnb, since we're doing this full time now, it's not just like it could be a stage, set it up, close, set it up, and let someone like us manage it for you. But it's not a passive income stream. It could be if you have the right team in place. And that's what, we spend a lot of time doing. However, when you're first starting out, it's not a long-term rental where you are setting it, putting a property up for rents, you have a tenant in there, and then you set it and forget it. And then you fix a toilet like a week later. If something breaks, you can fix it whenever. With Airbnb, it's not really, yes, it is real estate, and it can create long-term wealth with equity in properties that you buy. However, you're more in the space of hospitality. You have to make sure that your customers are comfortable, are happy, are ecstatic, love what you're doing, because you're essentially competing against hotels. So whatever you do, you have to make it as equal, if not better, to a hotel experience, or you are not going to get that person, if you make that experience worse than a hotel, that person might never book an Airbnb ever again. So you have to really think about that. You have to continuously monitor performance, feedback, make sure listings are always top of mind. A tip I like to give a lot of people when they first start out is, before you launch a property or have your first guest stay, you should sleep at your property. Use everything. See how it actually is. Would you want to stay at this property? Maybe have your folks stay there. Maybe have a friend stay there, and really see if the experience is up to par.
That's good.
I'm going to dive into step 3. So this gets a little bit more complicated, but over the last 5 years, we've really spent a lot of time trying to get this done. I'm constantly on calls figuring this out. There's tools that you can put in place for it as well, but strategies for maximizing occupancy and revenue. So keep this all in mind. Design, amenities, make sure that's all there. So property management software. So when you're first starting out, I think a good PMS, when you have like 1 to 5 units, a good property management software is Hospitable. Hospitable is a very cheap route you can go, where it'll market your property on Vrbo, Airbnb, and I think Hospital, just those two. I think there's one more maybe, but it's cheap. It does a lot of trigger words where if a guest responds to you or asks you a question, it'll automatically send you a message, which is fine. It doesn't give you much analytics, but it's a good starting PMS software. So I do recommend that, because yes, most of your bookings will come from Airbnb, but you will still get people from Vrbo, Booking.com, Hopper.com, Whimstay. So if you can have a PMS that links all those sites and you have one place to communicate with that guest, that's the better. That's the best.
We had ours on Hospitable.
Nice.
I remember that. I haven't seen or heard that name in a long time, but yep, I remember Hospitable. It actually is a fire tool. You can even you can set up auto messages and things on it, I think, right?
Yep. That's the
Yeah.
nice part about it. We've thought about like doing gusty and hospitable, but um that's gonna get messy. So we're like working with gusty right now on how to get more automations through there. Um, but at our scale, it would be nice, but at the same time, we do like the fact that gusty allows you to screen more people and not just have anybody stay. It's kind of like the previous owner at the lake house for you funk, like he was accepting anybody and not really monitoring who's coming there and gets everyone pissed off.
Yeah, gunshots off the roof, and yeah.
Nice. I've
Yep.
not heard about that one, so you got to tell me later. But PMS, so we use Gusty. You want to target 70-80% occupancy. When you're getting like a 90-95%, you might be losing out on revenue, meaning your prices are too low. And the sweet spot we found is 70-80% because those people pay more, they respect your property more, and they won't damage things in there or complain. When people pay a good price for a property, they're not going to be like the nitpicky ones. They're not going to um, ask you all these questions. They'll just stay and they'll be the least stressful clients you have. The ones that pay a little, they're always complaining. This can't figure this out, can't figure this out. But the ones that pay a good amount, they're the best customers. We use Wheelhouse. Price Labs is also really great. What these pricing tools do is they'll take the data of all the Airbnbs in your market with the amount of people that you sleep, amenities, and they'll give you a recommended base price. Then what you can do with a lot of these softwares is that you can see when people are traveling, checking in, checking out, and what the demand is for that day. So what we found in Chicago, and is very similar in Minnesota, is that we have the weekends are about 20-25% higher on Friday and Saturday. We have a 2-day minimum, especially on the weekends, because what we found, well, in Chicago, you have to have a 2-day minimum. You can't have a 1 day. It's part of the restrictions. But with 2-day minimum, we find that people check in on Friday and check out on Sunday. So to intrigue somebody to stay and check out on Monday, we do drop the base price on Sunday. I think about 10 or 15%. And then we drop it even lower on Monday, Tuesday, and then it's a little bit higher on Wednesday, a little bit higher on Thursday. So you have to look at the data in your market to see what it makes sense for you. Most of our stays are on the weekends, but we do capture the weekday stays as well. Once again, I would say revenue management is definitely the hardest thing to do. A lot of people are saying Airbnb bust, right? Like it's a boom, it's gonna go away. Yes and no, right? Yes, because everyone's trying to do it, which is great because a lot of people are leaving the market because they can't figure it out. They're like they're pricing their properties way too high, or they're expecting a lot more higher returns. Cool, come in the game, come play the game with us, and it's fine if you leave, right? It's not just a set it and forget it. You got to really manage this. Also look at your market. So for Chicago, our base price is 60-70% higher on the in the summer months than it is on the lower months or the off season. So April through September is 20-40% higher, and then the winter months are even lower than that. I think in Minnesota, actually, this is even higher than 60-70%. I'd probably do like 80-90%. A lot of your summer months are booking up pretty quick, Alex. So that's pretty exciting. So we're definitely
Those Minnesota summers, man.
raising. Yeah, I didn't realize how much more in demand that is in Minnesota than it is in Chicago. So that's cool. Have long-term discounts. So 7-day bookings are 10-15%. 30-day bookings might have a 25% discount. For bigger units, we charge per guest, so $25 per guest above 5 guests.
Oh, wait,
And
by the way,
Yep.
Just so everyone knows that 30-day booking 25% discount, if that might seem like a lot, but you're in that case paying the cleaner once instead of how many
Yep.
times. So there's a lot of other things that those long bookings are nice when I see them on the guesty.
Yeah,
So
less cleaning, less damage usually too, which is nice. Sometimes the short stays are just like they're gonna party. And you could do whatever you can to stop it, but they're going to have some fun for sure. And once again, you want to have your listing on as many platforms as possible because the more exposure you have, the higher chances of getting booked. Three mistakes that lead to low occupancy and revenue. So bad location. Location. It's I didn't realize how important this was, and it matters and it doesn't at the same time. So we have a property in Wicker Park in Chicago, which is 15 minutes from downtown, and we have a property close to the United Center, which is same distance, but one's safer. And then we have another property, I would say is one of our best properties, about 20-25 minutes away. Our biggest house, the black house that we have that's super modern that we just bought this year. That one is competing, but it's not getting booked as quick because it's a little bit farther. And like that matters, right? So really focus on the location if you can be closer to a city or some attraction that's better. Um, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, make sure that it's close to places that are safe. We have some guests that there's a property we just let go of. They would always say, "Oh, this neighborhood is an F minus rating on the Chicago site or whatever." So like, make sure the neighborhood's safe. People do look into that, public transportation, safety concerns, etc.
I think it's good for people to talk to. You could look things up online, but just talk to somebody that lives there. Because I think about someone, uh, one of my family members asked me about the Airbnbs in the cities and whatever, because people have all these thoughts about the city. And I literally, like, when I drop a map for Seabass and them, there are like pockets for sure. But because I live here, I know, well, yeah, we're just gonna avoid this little pocket or this little neighborhood. But like one block over, this is really a great, like, here's a really great spot. So if
Yep.
you're not from the city or us, like, let's say from Pierce, Minnesota, the best place to get Airbnb is probably the Brainerd Lakes area. So just talk to someone up there and say, hey, could you circle on the map for me the best spots or the worst spots? Because local people usually know that stuff.
Yeah, and when you do get guests that ask you those questions, obviously, if you've gone to property there, you've probably done your research and you know it's a good property and a good location. So sometimes they just need that reassurance, especially if they see a bunch of good ratings. They'll still book, um, but some people read headlines and just stick to that. So just keep that in mind. Ugly listings, no amenities. So there's a property, I'm not going to put anyone on blast, but there's a property I was looking at the other day. Beautiful house. This property is crushing it. And there's even a property that we're taking over management here soon. Let's see if I could find it. Anyways, we're taking over management with this property October 1st. And it's a fine house. No, it's a beautiful house, but the Airbnb listing is terrible. Um, should I have this ready?
Can we see a bad example?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if she still has it up.
And those from the last recording, you might remember seeing me open some and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe these photos.
Yeah, so if you've already showed them that, then that's probably good. I think she took the listing down.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Actually, no, she's got it right here. Okay, cool. So This is a beautiful property, so I'm not knocking anything about it, but the listing pictures make such a difference. It's a beautiful house, but like you can tell that like they don't do this. There's just nothing like spectacular about it, right? So beautiful house, everything's great, but she took all of these on her camera, on her iPhone. So we're taking over management. We'll have professional pictures. We're going to add some TVs, bunch of art in there, add some color in there. We're gonna add a hot tub, sauna, and an ice bath. So it's gonna be one of the only properties in Chicago with that. And they're all about, this client is all about experiences. So the more experiences we can offer with this property, the better. The property's gonna crush it. No doubt about it. But the better the property's gonna do, and the happier they're gonna be as well. Alrighty, let's keep going through this. Where's this? For listing, no amenities. So once again, you got to think about who's my competition. The hotels are your competition, and other Airbnb hosts are your competition. So can you beat them? And once you can, you're gonna be in a good spot. No pricing strategy. You can see on theirs, she wasn't really getting booked because she had a one-stop price, $1,200 a night for the whole month. Of course, she's not gonna get booked. She's versing a lot of different competition that's probably better than hers, and her property doesn't look like it's worth $1,200 a month or $1,200 a night. So just to recap, and I'm sure Alex talked about this, but the vacation rental, short-term rental market is not going to slow down anytime soon. If COVID happens again, that might be an issue, but I don't think the world will fall for that again, hopefully. It's only going to increase. People are still working from home, working remotely. And if it's the summer or if it's a season where they want to travel, they're still going to travel. If it's a season of, I just don't want to work from home, I want to work from a destination, people will still travel. Companies will always fly their employees out to different events, team bonding experiences, whatever the case may be. So this is not going to stop. It's only going to keep going up and up and up and up. So just know that that's a fact, right? That's why there's constantly hotels being built. That's why entertainment, that's why these sports teams are constantly getting funded. That's why people are always wanting to experience something cool and fun, and they need a place to stay to do that. We went over the challenges, right? There's seasons in these different markets. You want to stand out, making sure that your guest experience is the best. One bad review can crush your listing. You want to sleep in your own property. You want to experience what it would be like to stay at your property. And if it doesn't meet that criteria, make it better, right? Don't list it just to list it and be proud of what you have to offer to the marketplace. Mastering your product, your vacation home. What's your market? Is it going to be a 1 or 2 bedroom condo, or is it going to be a larger house? Is it going to be in the middle? What kind of amenities do you need to have? And budget for it. There's some people that don't budget, and it takes them a long time to get their ROI back. And there's some people that do budget and make it within those terms, and they get their ROI a lot quicker. Think about your listing. Think about the art. Think about the colors. Think about the style, right? So we're in Chicago. There's a lot of people that come for bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. There's a lot of family stuff. There's a lot of corporate stuff. We're not in Scottsdale, where most of their revenue is from bachelor parties or bachelorette parties. So we don't have a bunch of like pink walls, Barbie, bachelorette stuff, because we know that, yes, those places will still get booked here, but it's not going to be as often. A guy that's here for a bachelor party is not going to book that house. So we don't want to corner ourselves just in that niche in Chicago, because most people aren't traveling for that reason. So just think about that. AI tools, we talked about that. maximizing revenue, have a pricing software. It's very, very important. Don't get too greedy. Um, there's a positive gearing and negative gearing. I didn't talk about this earlier, but positive gearing, you want to be on top of your pricing, meaning don't get greedy. So I noticed at one of our properties, we have like a $1,500 nightly rate for like Christmas and New Year's. I'm going to talk to my partner about this later on today. And like, let's not be greedy. We did that last winter where we bumped the prices up so much where we didn't get booked until last minute. We had to drop prices to like $500 that night.
Mm,
Yes, you want to pay attention to these events that are happening, but you don't want to price it too high because if you don't get booked and you're dropping your prices last minute, that's an issue. So be ahead of your pricing. Don't get too greedy. Focus on the goals that you want that property to accomplish. And if you accomplish that goal and you're going to the month with 30-40% occupied, you're in a good spot. A lot of these stays that are happening right now are within 30 days, especially in the off season. People just sometimes want to pack their bags and stay on a property. So most of your bookings are going to come within 30 days. I didn't mention that before, but that's a little nugget. Big mistakes to avoid: bad location, ugly listings, no amenities, no pricing strategy. So yeah, if you want to work with us, you can. We're more than happy to manage your property and take this all off your hands. Or download the free ebook, lp.thedreamrentals.com. We're more than happy to give you the free ebook and have you guys learn from us. Everything's on here. Here's Alex Funk's testimonial, Danny V, David. And then we're more than happy to run to go through a free call and talk about these different things that we have to offer.
cool. There it is.
I think that's most of it.
Part three. That is it. Part 3 of 3. And like Sebastian said, you can do all this stuff yourself. 1,000% you can. You could also partner with Dream Rentals. Obviously, I'm a huge advocate because they're the reason that I'm able to scale and have so much confidence in bringing other people into the game because of people like Sebastian and because of what he's doing. Obviously, there's a lot of work to it. At the same time, there's something to be said about, especially with your first property. I think it actually did help me a lot by when I got my first house, we ran it ourselves for a year and a half. And that way I could learn the game enough that when Sebastian has a suggestion, I'm like, yes, I could totally see why that would make sense. So there's also a lot of power in, hey, that first one, take this ebook, do as much of it yourself as you possibly can, learn the game. And then maybe by the time you're ready for number 2, then it's like, hey, I'm ready to scale. I feel like I've learned the game. I'm sick of the game, but I want to keep making money. So, so there's not really a wrong way to do it, but either way, step 1 and 2, you got to get in the game first. Sebastian, anything else you were gonna say?
Yeah, I agree with that because then you know how much things cost, the pain of everything, the struggles. You also know the peaks and the valleys. So just yeah, whether you go with us or not doesn't really matter to me. I love that Alex ran this free training. I think it gives you definitely enough tools, and same thing with the ebook, gives you definitely enough that you need to start. But if you don't have time or whatever, then keep us in mind.
Yeah. So, hey, go to lp.thedreamrentals.com to get that ebook. Follow Unlock with Alex on Instagram. I'm going to keep posting tools and value and things like that that have to do with Airbnb and getting in the game. So, appreciate you watching, whether you are here live with us or on the recording, some kind of course somewhere. We love that you're here. And Sebastian, any last words?
No, thanks for being on. Thanks for the invite, Alex. I appreciate it. I'm excited for your growth and what